bells are ringing, my soul is singing. Well, oh, well, well, it's storytelling time. The bell ringer, the praise singer. Caribou, I am Mama Linda Goss, co-founder, along with the beloved Mother Mary Carter Smith of the National Association of Black Storytellers. Before I continue, I ask permission from the elders to speak. Oh, elders, do I have your permission to speak? Asante Sana, I feel your affirmation. Caribou, peace and blessings, everybody. Welcome to the historic first National Association of Black Storytellers virtual public folklore program. Ashe, 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 ashe. This is the National Association of Black Storytellers National Adopt-A-Teller Program's free community storytelling concert. The ancestors have spoken. Let the story circle be unbroken. The ancestors have spoken. May the story circle be unbroken. Asante Sana, thank you. Thank you, my brothers and sisters. Asante Sana.
Praise to the creator of the sun, the moon, and the stars. Praise to the one who allows our hearts to beat in our chests, allows our lungs to draw in the sacred breath of life, allows us to see, to hear, to think, to feel, to speak, so that we might share in the telling of stories. Praise to all of those whose stories have been lost, stolen, maligned, changed, and used as weapons. Praise to all of those whose stories were left in the hulls of slave ships, to all of those whose stories lie at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Praise to all of those whose stories have been choked out of them because the life and breath placed into them by the Creator was determined not to matter. Praise to all of those who in this moment as we sit are suffering somewhere in the world because they have spoken stories of peace, freedom, equality, humanity, and justice. Praise to all of those who in this moment as we sit are forming in their minds the words, stories, actions that will bring peace, equality, humanity, and justice in areas where those are absent. Praise to all of those ancestors whose collective toil, tears, pain, hopes, dreams, and prayers beckoned us into existence so that we might speak their stories and speak our own.
Welcome to the 38th in the Tradition National Annual Black Storytelling Festival. We have duly opened with the words and the spirits of our co-founder and the honoring of our ancestors. Today, we come to you with a pre-festival community event. You see, the National Association of Black Storytellers was founded in 1983 by co-founders Mother Mary Carter Smith, honored ancestor, and Mama Linda Goss, forever perennial mentor. And the first festival was held in Baltimore, and we were blazing in Baltimore. Then the next year, it was held in Philadelphia, and we was fat in Philadelphia. And ever since then, we have been in 26 different cities. And within those cities, the Adopt a Teller program goes into the community, sends our illustrious storytellers from all over the country into the communities, deep-rooted, into the libraries, the schools, the juvenile detention centers, the senior centers. And today, we kick off, as we do in the communities, usually when we're there, we have a free community concert. And this year, because we are virtual, and we're gonna vibe virtually, and we're gonna be victorious virtually, well, today, we are here to tell these stories. And we have fabulous storytellers coming to you. We have Kunama and Charlotte and Elisha and Dylan and Janice and Arthuretta. You're going to hear some stories today. And this event is funded by the National Endowment for the Arts, the Nora Roberts Foundation, and the National Council for Traditional Arts. And we thank them for what you are about to receive. Not just here. It's about what you're going to receive. And the Adopt a Teller program has 15 storytellers going into 30 schools across the nation virtually. But we're starting right here, right now, with the Community Festival. And we begin with Kunama Mtjendaji from St. Louis, Missouri. Let me tell y'all something. When I first met this brother, it was at the National Association of Black Storytellers Festival and Conference in Kansas. He was playing that djembe master drummer, and when this brother plays, it gets all up in your spirit. Emily, Lasana, and I were in the aisles, and we left our bodies. I think there was even some passing out. And when he tells his stories, that spirit comes through to the soul in the tradition of the Jalis. Everybody, give it up for Kunama. Come on, Mr. James, what you got for me? Yeah, we're going to bring him on in. Come on, Dwight James, let's bring him in. Yes, Kunama, Kunama, Kunama Mtjendaji, Kunama, Kunama, Kunama Mtjendaji.
Jambo, Karebo, Aquaba. We're going to continue right here with the traditional chant to the Jolly. This chant is Jolly, ala leka Jolly ada, means God made the Jolly. It's one of the chants we use in our guild. It comes from West Africa among the Manding speaking people. Also gonna call the name of some great people that are now in the realm of the ancestors. Some of our mothers and sisters and brothers that are part of our guild and will always be part of what we do here, as they're in the spiritual realm and we're in the physical realm. We bring forth the spirit of the jolly. The jolly are the keepers of the culture, the historians, the word warriors. Hey Jalia, Allah lek Jaliata. Hey Jalia, Allah lek Jaliata. Allah lek Jalia, Allah lek Jaliata. Jalia, oh Jalia, eh. Mama Mary Carter Smith. Jalia, oh Jalia, eh. Mama Mary Carter Smith. Jalia, oh Jalia, eh. A brother blue. Jalia, oh Jalia, eh. Oh brother blue. Jalia, oh Jalia, eh. Sister Opalanga Pill. Jalia, oh Jalia, eh. Sister Opalanga Pill. Eh Jalia, Nala Lake Jaliaza. Allah Lake Jalia, Allah Lake Jalia. Jalia, oh Jalia, eh. Sister Linda Jenkins Brown. Jalia, oh Jalia, eh. Sister Linda Jenkins Brown. Jalia, oh Jalia, eh. Sister Denise Valentine. Jalia, oh Jalia, eh. Sister Denise Valentine. Jalia, oh Jalia, eh. Sister Joyce Duncan. Jalia, oh Jalia, eh. Sister Joyce Duncan. Eh Jalia, Nala Leka Jaliata. Allah Leka Jalia, Allah Leka Jaliata. African people came here long ago. African people came here long ago. Left a legacy behind in a place they call Mexico. At La Venta, they speak of black sailors from far away. They speak of black sailors from far away. There are gigantic stone statues standing of them to this day. And there's the story of the Empire Mali. There's the story of the West African Empire Mali. From which a fleet of ships sailed west with King Abu Bakr. King Abu Bakr sailed west in 1311 AD. Now most Africans came much later, the record will show. In the worst activity against another human being this world will ever know. They call it the Atlantic slave trade. We call it the Ma'afa, great disaster. They call it the Atlantic slave trade. We call it the Ma'afa, great disaster. Millions of Africans suffer these many centuries. From the west coast of Africa, many ancestors came. From the west coast of Africa, many ancestors came. Great civilizations carved into countries, we'll call a few by name. Gambia, Ghana, Senegal, Guinea-Bissau, Gabon, Sierra Leone, Cameroon, Benin, Côte d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, Togo, Congo, Mali, Guinea, Liberia, Nigeria, Angola, Southwest Africa, Central Africa, West Africa. She stayed strong against the unkind. Her writings demonstrate the brilliant African mind. Bill Pickett, Bill Pickett, Bill Pickett became a great cowhand, roping, bulldogging, riding across this land called the Wild West, where the black cowboy was among the best. Mary McLeod Bethune, Mary McLeod Bethune, Mary McLeod Bethune walked door to door, raising money for female students searching for more. She gave them a chance in higher education, Bethune-Cookman College came from her determination. Elijah McCord, Elijah McCord, Elijah McCord studied machines bottom to top, invented the drill cook so they wouldn't stop. The oil now flows constantly. The real McCord helped all the modern industry. Bessie Coleman, Bessie Coleman, Bessie Coleman flew airplanes through the sky with dips and fancy flips. She took us high, daring and dazzling, a fan sensation. She showed us a way in aviation. George Washington Carver, George Washington Carver, George Washington Carver loved to work with plants. Never heard him say the words, I can't. His discoveries were so grand. Everybody on it is fantastic science man. Fannie Lou Hamer, Fannie Lou Hamer, Fannie Lou Hamer picked a lot of cotton, came up in Mississippi, sharecropping. She worked for civil rights and said, register to vote. Sing our songs of freedom to the last note. She said, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. And shine, and shine, and shine, and shine. Mickey Leland, Mickey Leland, Mickey Leland was born in Lubbock, Texas, became a bold activist, Congressman Nix. He worked to feed the hungry at home and far away, gave his life for African people to have a better day. Do your thing. Everybody, do your thing. Do a good thing. Come on, do your thing. That good thing for our family, for our community, for our society. Yeah, come do your thing. Do your thing. Come on. Do that good thing.
Woo-hoo. Brother Kunama, Brother Kunama, we thank you for that grace. We thank you for that power and strength, calling the ancestors into the space, laying down our history. Everybody, give it up once again for Kunama. Thank you, brother. Woo! laid it down, laid it down. All right, so now we have coming up the 16th president of the National Association of Black Storytellers, Janice Curtis Greene. Now, when Janice Curtis Greene tells stories, you're going to be on the edge of your seat. And Janice Curtis Greene can come riveting to you with her personal narratives. And when she tells you those stories, you feel it. She can come to you rocking those folk tales and having you dying laughing. And she can come to you with historical tales. And it's as if the historical sheroes are right there with you. And I learned something new about President Janice Curtis Greene while we've been talking so much getting ready for this festival. And that is that she can imitate anybody in there. I mean, when you're on the phone with her and she want to celebrate a NABS member, the cadence of her voice, I swear that they're on the other end of the phone and it's not Janice. Everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. We bring it to the spotlight. Come on, we're going to give it up. Janice Curtis Greene, come on. Bring it to the spotlight. Janice Curtis Greene, come on. Bring it to the spotlight. What, Janice Curtis Greene, come on. Bring it to the spotlight. Janice Curtis Greene with a alien. Mm-hmm.
I say, do you want a story? You say, raise your hand if you do. I say, do you want a story? Raise your hand if you do. Well, do you really want the story? Raise your hand if you do. Well, you in luck. Here comes a story just for you. Asante Sana, Queen Nur, Mama Linda, blessings, Mama Murray, because I keep her picture on top of my screen. So that's who I look at while I'm telling stories. This story is all about the power of love and how you need to learn how to respect it. Now, years ago, after the Civil War, many of the emancipated Negroes fled to the North, but many stayed in the South and built homes and communities. And out of the ashes of burnt out plantations that had been abandoned by their oppressors, they built communities that were filled with love. And in Arkansas, there was this one community that was filled with love, but in that community was a family that love was all over them and it covered them. It was John and his wife Mary and their two children, twins, about 11 or 12, Sam and Sally. And everyone in the whole community knew that they were full of love. You see, John and Mary had built a home on what was once a plantation. And they grew corn and cotton and cane, and their field was about a mile and a half from their home. And in the morning, while they had to go off and tend to their field, Sam and Sally would do all the work around the house. Little Sally, oh man, she was beautiful, just like her mother. She would mend and cook and sew and prepare dinner. So when her mother came home, dinner would be ready. And Sam, so much like his dad, growing big and strong into manhood, would chop wood and tend to the few chickens and pigs that they had. But you know, wherever there is love, there's bound to be a hater. And such was the case of the conjure man. And the name was right for him because he would conjure up spells and work his evil on people because for some reason he couldn't feel the love that the rest of the community did. So at night when John and Mary came home, they would read to their children and sleep. But while they were sleeping, Conjure Man was working his evil magic. And he was bound and determined to destroy this family. And he did it by casting a spell on their crops. And no matter how much they toiled, no matter how much they irrigated, no matter how much they worked, their plants withered right there in the field. Knowing that they wouldn't be able to pay their bills, John sat at the dinner table one night trying to find out how they could buy feed and grain and how they could clothe their growing children. He came to one conclusion. The only way that they could do that was to borrow money. Mary said, well, where are we going to borrow money from? The people in the community are just as bad off as we are. He said, no, we're going to go to the one man in this town that has amassed a sum of money that we can borrow. We'll go to the conjure man. And Mary said, are you sure? He said, yes, that's how we're going to do it. So that night, John and Mary, Sam and Sally went off to the conjure man's house. And the conjure man was standing on his front porch as if he were waiting for them. He said, good evening. How may I help you? John explained their predicament. He said, we just need to borrow some money, conjure man. It will just be next year till we get to the next harvest, and then we would pay you back. And even if I have to work at the mill, we will pay you back. The conjure man said, well, I don't usually lend money to strangers, but since you're like family, I will lend it to you for collateral. John said, what's collateral? He said, something of value that you could let me hold until you pay me back. John said, well, if we had something of value, we wouldn't need to borrow money. He said, well, you do have something of value. You have your children. Mary then pushed her husband out of the way. She said, look, conjure man, there is no way I'm going to let you hold on to my children until we pay you back. All right, so just don't you forget that. And she stormed off the step, carrying John and Mary right behind her. John looked at the conjure man and said, it's what she said, all right? But they got half the way home, and just then Sam stopped them. He said, Mama, Daddy, you raised me to be a man. Let me be a man. Let me take care of this family. I'll go work for the conjure man for a year, and I'll take good care of Sally. But let me do this. Let me be the man you want. Mothers, we got to stop raising our sons to be man and then trying to keep holding on to them. So they decided they would let Sam grow into his manhood, take care of the family, and take care of little Sally. And they got back and they took Sam and Sally and turned them over to the conjure man. And Mary said to them, look, conjure man, I'm going to tell you one thing. You better take good care of my children. And to make sure you take care of them, I'm going to be here every Sunday with Sunday dinner. Now, you can have some if you want, but I'm going to make sure my children are fed, and I will make sure that you're taking good care of them. The family kissed and hugged, and then they walked off, leaving their children behind. Well, the next morning, John and Mary, they woke up and they went to the field, and that week they anticipated Sunday when they would see their children again. Saturday night, Mary stayed up all night long. She cooked chicken, she cooked ribs, she cooked potato salad, she cooked yams, she made biscuits and rolls, apple pie, and peach cobbler. Can you hear me, Granddaddy? She made peach cobbler, and she prepared it to take it to her children that next Sunday. The day arrived, they went to see the conjure man and their children, and when they got to the conjure man's house, it was empty. Not only was the conjure man gone, but their children were gone too. And in a panic, they looked all over. They asked the neighbors to search the woods, to search everywhere. John and Mary cried because their children had disappeared off the face of the earth. They went back home, and John explained, we're going to still have to work hard and look for our children. But in case we find them, we're going to have money to pay the conjure man back so we can get our children back. So the next morning, they walked out to the field hand in hand. And when they finished working their crops, on the way home, Mary saw two little white stones on the ground near the river. And she picked them up and she put them in her pocket. John said, baby, what you going to do with them? She said, well, they're flat and I can use them to sharpen my knife that I use to chop cane. So they got home that night and she put the stones on the windowsill to dry. But something strange happened. At night, the stones seemed like they shone brightly in the moonlight. And when she went to touch them, they were warm to the touch. They knew something was odd, but John said maybe it was some kind of mineral that was in the water that made them do that. The next day, they went off to work their crops, but while they were gone, something very strange happened. Those stones turned into two children, a boy and a girl, about 11 or 12. The boy began to chop wood and mend the fence and feed the chickens and the pigs, and the little girl began to clean the house and start dinner. But right before the sun went down, miraculously, they turned back into stones right on that windowsill. When John and Mary got home, they saw the fence had been mended and the animals had been fed, and there was food cooking on the stove, and they called out, Sam, Sally, but nothing. But they knew it had something to do with those stones. So early in the morning, they decided they were going to go see Aunt Easter. Now, everybody in town knew Aunt Easter. She was called Easter because she was born on Easter Sunday. And she was about 110 or so. And she used to work spells too, but her spells were like love potions and how to get that big boil off your armpit and stuff like that. And they went, and she was on the porch smoking her pipe. And she saw them coming down the road. She said, come on down. I've been waiting for you because I knowed you was coming. I said, well, how'd you know we were coming on Easter? She said, because there's strange doings in your house. They said, how do you? She said, I know everything. I had a dream. They got something to do with them stones that you found by the river the other day. They said, well, tell us more. She said, I'm going to give an old lady time. Take time. Them stones be your children. They said, what? He said, yeah, them stones be your children. That's Sam and Sally. See, they went with the conjuring man. He took them back in another cabin he got way in the back. Oh, excuse me, old people go sleep sometimes. They said he took them way back behind the river, see, and Sam, he fought that man, trying to take care of his sister. Conjure man got so mad, he turned them into stones and threw them in the river. But as children will always do, they found a way to come back home. Parents, your children going to find a way to come home. And when they come home, they may not look like they did when they left. They may tell you that they've come out of the closet. They may come back with some babies. They may come back pregnant. They may come back addicted, but they always find a way back home. And when they do, we must be ready to welcome them. Aunt used to say, yeah, your children come home, but you can turn them back into children, you know. They said, well, how can we do that? He said, your children be hungry. They need cornbread. But not just any cornbread. They need cornbread made from the milk from the conjure man cow, egg from the conjure man chicken, and corn from the conjure man corn. And you make that and you give it to and they turn. Oh, excuse me. They turn back into children and see. They said, well, where is the conjure man? They said, I told you, y'all ain't listening. He in another cabin all the way up behind the river, see. And if you go back there, you're going to find him. But I got to warn you, be careful. Because the conjure man power is in his bones. Yes. And go and find the children now. Go ahead, because I got to get my rest, my beauty sleep. And John and Mary took off. And they knew that night they had a plan. You see, they were going to follow the river like Aunt Easter said, and go back behind and find their children, and they were going to get the things that they needed to turn their stones back into the children. They kissed and held because they knew this was a dangerous journey, and they went to where Aunt Easter said he would be, and there was the conjure man's cabin, and there was the conjure man. He was sitting in his house with his dark black eyes and his gnarly teeth and a big old mole on the left side of his face. And even though that's the right side, on his left side of his face. And it was easy to get the milk because the conjure man's cows were in the barn. It was easy to get the eggs because the conjure man's chickens were in the chicken coop. But he had already harvested his corn, and the corn crib was inside of his house. So John came up with a plan. He said, look, baby, I'm going to take the milk and the eggs and hide in the bushes. You hide down here next to the conjure man's porch. I'm going to make a loud noise. And when I do, he's going to run out of the house, try to get me. And I know I can run faster than he can. And while he's chasing me, you go in and get the corn. And then we'll meet back home and we'll get our children. And they hugged and they kissed like that might be the last time they ever hugged and kissed again. John went out. He began to make noise on a bucket. And the conjure man came out on the porch. But instead of running into the woods, he sent his hound. And he said, fetch. And the hound took off. And when he did, Mary was so scared, she screamed. And when she did, the conjure man said, I knew you'd come to find your children. Now I have all of you, and I can finish my evil plan. And he took Mary and he put her inside his cabin and he locked all the doors and barred the windows and went off to get John. Mary was in a panic. She tried to get out. She tried to look everywhere. And then she heard the conjure man's key in his door. He was dragging John behind him, who wasn't dead, but just unconscious. He came after Mary, and then she saw on the floor the bones of what looked like an old dried up rat. And she remembered Aunt Easter said, his power is in his bones, right before she fell asleep. And so she picked up those bones and she held them high above her head. And the conjure man said, no, not my bones. And she knew she had him. And she took those bones and she took that skeleton and threw it in the fire. And the fire hissed, popped, and smoke went all over the cabin. And when the smoke disappeared, so did the conjure man. There was nothing on the floor left but his clothes and a heap of ashes where the conjure man used to be. Her husband woke up and said, baby, what happened? She said, while you were sleeping, I got rid of the conjure man. And they got the corn and the milk and the eggs. They rushed back home and Mary began to prepare that cornbread. And she added some sweet cream butter and just a little bit of sugar. And she beat it up and she put 2 small loaves into the oven. And the smell of that cornbread went all throughout the cabin. And you know what they say, nothing says loving like something from the oven. And when it came out, she put that cornbread on the table next to 2 cold glasses of milk. They put those 2 white stones in chairs right in front of the cornbread. And afraid that they might break the spell or something would go wrong, they hid behind the cabinet in the kitchen. And they hid down, waiting for something to happen. Just then, the sun began to rise in the sky. And the sunlight began to shine through the window so that they could not see, blanking out everything. It was so bright. But as the sun passed by, they looked, and there was Sam and Sally sitting at the kitchen table, eating that cornbread and drinking that cold milk. And the more they ate, the more their cheeks filled, and they hugged and they kissed. And the family went back to being the loving family that they had been. And the crops prospered. And because the conjure man and his evilness was gone, the whole town prospered. And this little town in Arkansas became bigger and bigger. And they asked, well, we need a name. And Mary said, let's call it where we started. From the 2 white stones, let's call it Little Rock. And that's what they named their town, Little Rock, Arkansas. And the conjure man, he was defeated because, like I said at the beginning, love has power. And like Stephanie Mills told us, you got to learn to respect the power of love. Ashe, Yebo, Amen. I say, do you want a story? Raise your hand if you do. Well, your luck just ran out. I believe I'm through.
Wow, thank you so much, Madam President, Madam 16th. I mean, that was some folklore up in there, and everybody is writing about it. Yes, man, you said you took a lot of people home. Amy Johnson talking about, you better stop talking about us old folks, and everybody saying yes, and they was testifying. Now, we know that Black storytelling is about the audience, right? It's the audience and the storytellers is one amalgamated event, as Dr. Carlise Frank Reed says, right? And this was one amalgamated event, although we're not even in the same space because the commentary is rolling, you know, and everybody's rolling in and everybody's letting us know where they're from. We got people from all across the country, from my 15 affiliates, from Paris, from Peru. So, y'all, we are rocking it. We're going to continue rocking it. And thank you again, Madam President, Madam 16th, Janice Curtis Greene, with an E on the end. You told that. Yes. And next we have coming up. Come on, give me some more rhythm, Dwight James. Yeah, because we got Elisha Mentor in the house. And Elisha Mentor is one of the co-directors of our National Youth Program. And she is dedicated through and through to passing this rich Black storytelling tradition on to our youth. Now, she's got a sweet North Carolinian soul, you know. But when she tells her story, it's like a storytelling porch event. And you get all wrapped up and you just don't want to let go. You don't want to let go of the stories. You don't want to let go of her skirt. You just want to hear her tell and tell and tell. Everybody, come on. We're going to juice it up and bring it up for Elisha Mentor. Mother Mentor. Elisha Mentor, coming to the spotlight. Mother Mentor, Elisha Mentor. Mother Mentor, coming to the spotlight. Elisha Mentor.
Ashe, Ashe, Jambo, my family. It is so good to be here. Gaga, Milo. Gaga, Milo. Gaga, Milo. Welcome, welcome. Mother Mentor here to tell you stories from the Bread family. Oh, you know I love my family, honey, and I know you love your family. And all those, some of our ancestors now, I still remember the tales that they told me, that we told around the pot-bellied stove in the evening, eating those good old cracklings, you know, and those old fried skins. We just would have such a good time up in that house. That pot-bellied stove would be radiating out that heat, and we'd have to back up, you know, a little bit until we backed up and got in those warm beds with those heavy quilts over us. When I growing up as a child, it was like that on the farm. Every Friday night, Daddy would have we would have singing on the porch on Sunday afternoon. And we as children had chores to do. I don't know what the children do nowadays that don't have chores to do in their house. Because we had to do chores, stuff like slopping the hogs and that's just mean feeding the pigs, you know what I'm saying? And we had to sweep the yard off, make sure it kept clean, just in case the preacher came by on Sunday morning. We'd have some nice clean yard out there. We didn't grow much grass because we worked on a farm. And on that farm, those those tractors and things would come through, and so it kept the grass all cut up. But Mama kept the yard nice and clean, and we would sweep that yard. Well, now, I didn't mind doing any of the chores that Mama had us to do until one day, Daddy had come home with this little old black banter rooster. Now, he was slick and black like tar, had a little red hanging down right here and a little red on top of his head. And, you know, he looked all right, but we already had us a great big old Kellogg's cornflakes rooster strutting around there, moving his head back and forth, ruling the roost, they used to say. Well, Daddy put that little old rooster in there, and I was outside sweeping that yard, getting ready for that Sunday weekend, when something caught me out the corner of my eye. And when I looked over there, that big old Kellogg's cornflakes rooster and that little bit old black banter rooster, they were going round and around in a circle, round and around in a circle. Well, I watched him, and I watched him for a minute, and the next thing I know, that little old black rooster jumped up and started spreading his wings, waving them. And before I could say, he jumped right on that old big old Kellogg's cornflakes rooster, grabbing around his neck, started squeezing tight, just like this there, till his eyes popped out his head and he fell over dead. I said, Daddy, Daddy. Daddy came running out of the house. He said, God, what's the matter with you? I said, Daddy, that little rooster jumped on that big old Kellogg's cornflake rooster, Daddy, and he grabbed him around his neck, and he was holding on tight, Daddy, and that rooster fell over. And my daddy said, well, I declare, I knew those roosters would fight, but I never thought they'd jump on something bigger than themselves. Now, what did my daddy say that for? I figured if that rooster would jump on something bigger than himself, that I better stay out that chicken pen getting those eggs. Because if I would go in there and he jumped down on something bigger than himself, he might jump on me, grab me around my neck and squeeze until my eyes popped out of my head and I fell over dead. So I made up in my mind right then and there that I wasn't ever going to get no eggs out that chicken pen ever again. And I meant that thing. So I started tricking little baby Jimmy, little baby Jackie. The cousins was fair game. I was sending them in there to get the eggs when it was my time to get them. But you know, back then in those days, mamas, you couldn't pull nothing over their eyes. They would catch on quick and quick. And my mama called me one day and I'm out there in the yard just playing and cutting up. She said, Lishan, baby, come on in here. Mama wanna ask you something. I said, yes, ma'am, Mama. And you know, my daddy had told me I was the prettiest thing in the whole wide world, and I showed up bleeding. So I went switching on up in there. And I said, yes, ma'am, Mama, is there something I can do? Is there something I can help you with in the kitchen? She said, Lishan, I noticed that you haven't been going to get the eggs out the chicken pen when it was your time to go get them. You've been sending other people. Can you tell your mama what's going on with that? I said, Mom, I was scared. I'm scared to go. They got that rooster. He might jump up on me and squeeze me around my neck. He killed me dead, Mama. I'm scared. My mama said, that's all right, baby. Calm right on down. She said, your mama gonna help you with that problem. She said, that rooster's a little old thing. She said, now you get that basket off the side of that house and you go in there and you get your mama's eggs and you better not break up one of them. I'm gonna take care of you good. Because you know we need those eggs to take to the market and we need those eggs to eat. You better not break up one of them. She said, that rooster's a little old thing. You got to overcome that fear. I said, yes, ma'am, Mom. She said, get the basket now and hush up. I said, yes, ma'am, Mom. I went out there and set up under the big old China bear tree. That China bear tree was why I was having to sweep that yard off because my brothers would mash all those little bears. And you know, China bear tree ain't good for nothing. Can't even burn that rascal. But I sat up under that tree and I watched that old rooster. Every now and then that rooster would go back behind the chicken pen and stay for X amount of time. I timed him a few times and I believed in my heart that if I was nice and quiet, I could get up in that chicken pen, get those eggs and put them in that basket my mama had there for me, and come on back out without him knowing anything about it. And I was gonna be very quiet, and I also was gonna leave the door open to the chicken pen so that if I needed to get out, I could get out right quick. So I timed him a few more times, and then I got up my nerve and I put that basket right on my arm, held it close to me, because I didn't want nothing happen to my mama's eggs. And I went on in there, climbed up that little old makeshift ladder, and got up in there and I started getting those eggs and putting them in the basket. Get those eggs, putting them in the basket. Got almost to the last hen. And when I went to stick my hand up under that hen said, I said, that's all right, I don't want your eggs. I backed back and I looked around. I didn't see that old rooster nowhere. I said, phew, maybe he didn't hear him. I went to the other empty nest and I got those eggs out, put them in that basket. Back down and cleaned myself off. But when I looked up, there was that old rooster looking at me like I was a piece of meat. And his head was going back and forth, just like this. I said, Mama, he gonna kill me, Dad. And this is what my sweet mama said to me. From the window of the kitchen, she yelled out, Lishan, you come on out that pen now. That rooster not even studying about you. And you better not break up none of my eggs either. I said, yes, ma'am, Mom. I'm not going to break up none of your eggs. So I started inching toward the door. But with every step I took, that old rooster started coming after me. When I stopped, he would stop. So I had to come up with a quick and in a hurry plan. So I thought to myself, if I moved that rooster far enough away from that door, I could outrun him. So I came up with that plan and I started doing it. I moved him over just a little bit. Then I moved him way away from the door. And when I got him over there and I stopped, he stopped. Then I took off running just as fast as I could. Running faster than fast. But I forgot about that old root from the big oak tree that grew up in that chicken pen. Seemed like every chicken pen had one. I tripped over that root, fell on the door and closed myself up in there with that chicken. And he was at my heels going, I said, Mama, he gonna kill me, Dad. I know he is. I had my eyes closed tight. And the only reason I opened them was that I heard the back door slam and Mama was coming down the hill, looking like a big old steam engine coming at me. She got down to the gate, got to that door, started pushing it. She pushed on the door, I pushed on the door. She pushed on the door, I pushed on the door. Well, some kind of way or another, my mama got me out of there and we went straight to the switch tree. Now, I don't know if y'all know about switch trees, but that's them trees they just let grow wild and they just grow long. And when mama get to them, she don't know what to do. She just start plaiting switches together. Well, she took me to that tree and she didn't bother plaiting this time. She just grabbed about 9,000 of them and whooshed them down and wrapped them around my little legs. I'm sitting over there just crying. She said, hush up. I mean it right now. She said, didn't I tell you that was a little thing? You done broke up all my eggs. We don't have no eggs for Sunday breakfast. We don't have no eggs to sell at the market. And you up here crying over a chicken. I said, yes, ma'am, Mom, I'm sorry. She said, that's all right. Your mama gonna help you out. She said, you're gonna have chicken roost stew until you overcome this thing. So you better pray about it, you better think about it. And don't you know, you're gonna overcome that fear. I said, yes, Mama, thank you. You know, you thanked them for everything back then. And so, about 4 days later, it was time for those chickens to lay again. Mama had put me a new basket out there. I got that basket and I sat in up under that China bear tree again. And during the week, I had got me a 2x4 from up under the big old grapevine bush. And I had been practicing. Daddy thought I was practicing to direct the choir, but I wasn't. I got my nerve up, and that old rooster was looking at me. I pushed that door open, and sure enough, that rooster started coming after me. I took my stick and I said, get back. And he moved back. Well, it kept coming, and I would jug at him every time, and he would move back. Finally, I said, Mr. Rooster, you and nobody else not gonna ever make me get another taken care of in life. If I get took care of, it's gonna be because I mean to do it myself. And so I started swinging that board. Had my eyes closed tight. But after I popped him upside his head a couple of times, that old rooster went behind that chicken pen and he didn't ever bother me again. And children, folk, I've been swinging at life just like that ever since. The moral of that story is, if you don't overcome fear, fear will overcome you. And fear comes in many shapes and many sizes. Sometimes it's just a math problem, children. Sometimes it's just somebody acting ugly, but you can overcome that fear if you have some faith in yourself. Aquawa, 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 aquawa. Have a great day. Have a great life. And know that you're loved.
Mother Mentor. Give it up, everybody. Give it up for Mother Mentor. Mother Mentor, you got people saying all kinds of knowing to go. Look at me, I'm crying. See, I got tears in my eyes. I can't even tell what side it is. I just got tears in my eyes. Laughing so much. Mother Mentor, let me tell you that the ED said, boy, rooster, rooster. She remembers and you took her home. There we go, y'all. Y'all heard some Southern black folklore, some Southern farm folklore. We coming at you. We coming to you. We coming with you. Telling these stories. Give it up again for Mother Mentor. Oh man, you make us feel warm. I'm holding on to them skirt tails. I'm holding on because I sure want to hear some more. And if you want to hear some more, you know what y'all better do? You better register for the festival. And it's in the link is in the chat box. And if you haven't registered yet, you know. You better register. And we're going to keep reminding you to register for the festival, which starts November 19th. We're bringing on our next teller into the spotlight. Yes, we are. Now, this storyteller hails from Virginia, right outside of D.C. And my sister, Arthuretta Martin, she's always on a mission. And you're going to hear that black mission, that black history, that black elevating mission, whether she's singing spirituals with historical black choirs, or whether she's setting it right on Facebook or telling stories to the corporate world. She's going to bring us lessons that elevate our minds. I bring to you Arthuretta Martin. What we got? We're going to add it to the spotlight. Here we go. Mama Red, come to the spotlight. Mama Red, in the spotlight. Mama Red, Mama Red, Mama Red, Mama Red. Give it up, y'all, for Arthuretta Martin.
Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Oh, Lordy, hush, hush. Somebody's calling my name. Oh, my Lord. Oh, my Lord. What shall I do? What shall I do? The year was September 1965. This man by the name of Colin Edwards, he was a British journalist. He decided he wanted to interview the Negroes in the United States. Me being Fannie Lou Hamer, one of the most important and recognized Negroes in the United States, said, well, sir, I'll interview with you. So he took me to Berkeley, Berkeley, California. I think it was in California. And we sat down and we had a talk. I want you to know something has happened. Something has happened that disturbed me up in the atmosphere. So I think my interview with him, the interview that I held with him, might share some information for you all and remind you of my story. Not only will that interview
inform you of some things, but I'm going to tell you a couple little pieces of advice based on the unsettling in the atmosphere and my experiences. Now, I want you to know your ancestors are not resting so peacefully up here. They sent me here to give you a message. Y'all don't understand what it was like being a sharecropper. You don't understand what it was like to live in Mississippi. Some of y'all, more like the middle class. You know, when it all comes down to it, I said this before, whether you middle class or low class, you got to have class. Some of y'all ain't got the class. Well, this class right here, I'm getting ready to sit y'all down in and tell you a thing or two. Now, yes, I come from Ruleville, Mississippi, but that didn't stop me from getting my learning. I read plenty of things. And that old Colin Edwards learned a thing or two from me. First thing he learned was we didn't expect a whole lot from the Democratic Party. Even though in last year, 1963, we didn't necessarily think they was going to seat us. You see, we had a plan. Yes, we did. Once we got registered to vote, we went on down there to the registrar's office. And at the registrar's office, we were supposed to have a precinct there. And when we got there, you know they had that door locked. Yes, they did. They had it locked. So you know what we did? This is what y'all need to learn to do. We set up our meeting right there in front of the building. We elected our chairperson. We elected our delegates. And we also elected our alternates. And from there, we went down to Jackson. And from Jackson, we went to Atlantic City. You see, we defined our own existence. Now, did we think they was actually going to seat us? No, we didn't think they was going to seat us. But I'm going to tell you what we did do. We did get them to hear our story. First thing they learned, the first thing you gonna learn, is that we had gotten the right to vote 100 years before that convention in 1964. We got our right to vote in 1870 here in Mississippi. Now, I know all of y'all smart folk thinking, well, the Civil War ended in 1865. Yes, it did. But Mississippi was not accepted into the Union until 1870. And you know why they was accepted into the Union? Because they promised the United States of these Americas that they was going to permit the Negroes to vote. So in 1870, they said they was going to do right by their Negroes, and they didn't. So I question America. I question America because Mississippi didn't do right by the 13th Amendment. They ain't done right by the 14th Amendment. And they definitely ain't doing right by the 15th Amendment. We are not receiving our full citizenship. So, that Mr. Edwards, he didn't understand all of that. He said, well, why would you get into the Democratic Party? Seems like they just mistreating y'all. But he didn't understand the power of the rest of the world hearing what was going on in Mississippi. Before SNCC came, before the SNCC young people coming from all over the country. We didn't even know we could vote. I was 44 years old at the time. 44, before I even learned I could vote. And as soon as they told me I could vote, I went right on down there to that registrar's office. Lots of folks were scared, but I wasn't scared because I said to myself, they done took everything I had. Well, that Mr. Smart Edwards, I liked him because he congratulated me on the achievement. He congratulated me on my ability to articulate and explain to him. But he just couldn't understand why we would want to be a part of an organization, a Democratic Party, who treated us so bad. I told him, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, and it's the part that I want you all to know. They don't tell y'all this. They always repeat, and I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. That's true. I did say that. But I also said a lot of other things. I said, unless all of us is free, none of us is free. But what I don't tell very many people, and I'm telling y'all all this, you got to keep it to yourself. I know I can trust y'all to keep this to yourself. If I had known what the Democratic Party was going to do to us, I don't know that I would have done it. After I got involved, I cried. It was bad. But then, and this is the piece y'all need to understand, I met good people of all different colors. I met good white people. I met good Black people, Mexican, Chinese, and it was a beautiful thing. And what I found out was that poor people have so much in common. But in the beginning of this, I told y'all that there's a disturbance in the heavenly host. And that disturbance is that all of what we fought for. There's some things that change. I hear y'all got a woman, a colored woman, Vice President of the United States. I heard that up here in the heaven. We partying up here about that piece, but there's some things that we fought for, y'all still fighting for. We wanted to register to vote to remove the police that were lynching and killing us. Y'all still fighting that fight. We wanted everybody to have medical coverage. Everybody needs to be taken care of. Y'all still fighting that fight. We wanted children to be educated and not go to bed hungry. Y'all still fighting that fight. That break our heart. So we want y'all to know, coming here from the ancestral realm, that if you listen, if you hush, we'll tell you what to do. Now, when I was on that bus and they told me, Fannie Lou, get yourself back on that bus, there's one thing that came to my mind. It was a song, and it went like this. Paul and Silas locked in jail, had no money for the payday bail. Keep your eyes on that prize. Hold on. My message to y'all, is there are good people. And if you just hold on, you can cause change. You gotta hold on, you gotta believe, and you gotta know that together we will all be free. Hold on, keep your eyes on that prize. Hold on.
Mama Red. Mama Red. Wow. That's what we do, y'all. Mama Red, Fannie Lou came all through you. And she talking to us. She talking to us. Thank you, Arthuretta. That was powerful. Y'all, I'm quiet because the first thing I heard was hush. So best we listen. We listen to our ancestors. Best we listen to the history lessons. Like my line sister on the line say, Cynthia Grant Carter, I see you line sister talk about teach. She a teacher. She said, give the lessons, teach. Hush. Wow. Black storytelling. Our next storyteller. I met this sister in 1996 or so, 95 or somewhere around there. And she was president of Keepers of the Culture. And Dr. Reed had just introduced me to Black storytelling, and I went to the meeting, and she was the president, and the next day I became the secretary. That's how her influence is. That's how powerful this sister is. Charlotte Blake Alston is a storyteller to be reckoned with. She is deep in her research and will not be disturbed until the crafting is perfected in excellence. Charlotte Blake Alston is an international storyteller, a most requested storyteller who has played from preschool to Carnegie Hall and the Philadelphia Orchestra. I bring to you the dynamic in Charlotte Blake Alston. What we got? Charlotte Blake Alston. Griot woman, Griot woman, Griot woman, come into the spotlight. Griot woman, Griot woman, Griot woman, got something to tell us. Griot woman, Charlotte Blake Alston. Griot woman, Charlotte Blake Alston.
Thank you. I apologize to Elisha for doing the rooster neck there. I don't mean to scare you. But yes, we are a people who are accustomed to getting our hands dirty and getting our feet dirty. And continuing on that path is nothing new to us. And there are times when we need to remember all of those who laid down their lives on our behalf, those who struggled and those who laid down a legacy for us to follow. And there are those times when we simply need to be still and remember and to follow in their footsteps. I decided to go back and just dig out an old folk tale, African-American folk tale from Texas, from the Brazos Bottoms of Texas. It was one of the stories that the great Jackie Torrance used to do. I put a little bit of a different spin on it. There once lived in a very peaceful part of the woods a great big fat raccoon. Now, raccoon always looked for and always managed to find the easiest way to get something without having to work too hard. And in most instances, without having to work at all. Now, this particular day, he had been lying around outside, hadn't done a lick of work, even had his oldest child fanning flies off of his face while he slept. But his stomach had just given him a little wake-up call. And whenever Raccoon got that call, he always answered. Well, his stomach was calling for what he loved best, and he loved nothing better than snacking on fat, juicy frogs. Green, bumpy, bug-eyed, fat, croaking, juicy frogs. He took them in all shapes and sizes. Now, there were plenty of other things that Raccoon could eat, but there was nothing easier than catching frogs. He would just go on down to the pond and sit down there by the water's edge real quiet. And after a moment or so, up would pop little beady eye, another little beady eye, little lumpy heads and bumpy backs. And that raccoon would inch closer to the water's edge, reach out and snatch up as many as he wanted. He would eat them and take some home to his wife and his kids, of course. But lately, there was something going on down at that pond. Because after a whole couple of weeks of sitting and waiting, there wasn't a frog to be found. So he was feeling a little more anxious as he lumbered through the woods towards that pond. Now, in that pond, there was plenty of life, and there were plenty of frogs, and there they all were, out on the sunshine, shimmering water, jumping, hopping, croaking, and, catching flies and bullfrogging. But they had had a meeting just a few weeks ago, and they were tired of that greedy frog snatching raccoon coming down there snatching their relatives and friends. They planned on putting a stop to it. So they decided that every single time they saw her coming toward that pond, they were going to stay down below the surface of the water. And he could starve to death for all they cared. Now, one of the frogs would look back and forth down that path and say, "Is he coming? Keep it looking." All the little frogs would say that too. "Is he coming? Keep it looking." And just as that raccoon would reach that pond, down they all went. Now, he had heard all that splashing as he was getting closer to the pond. He started walking a little faster, and then he started running. He got to the pond faster than he had ever gotten there before. And for a while, all he could hear was the sound of his own heart breathing. But he sat down by the water's edge and waited and waited. Not a bump nor an eye could be seen. Now, I know I heard the splash today. I know y'all down there. I mean, this is life. I see in the Lion King. I mean, this is the circle of life. Some get eaten, some do the eating. Now I guess because it's hot, they're down below in the cool mud. I'm going to wait for the sun to go down, and I'm going to come back when it's cooler. So he went back through the woods towards his home to wait for the sun to go down. Now, no sooner had he left than up popped the frogs. Big, green, bumpy, bug-eyed, fat, croaking, juicy frogs hopping, jumping, and, bullfrogging. Well, the raccoon did come back when the sun had gone down, and it was much cooler. He sat down by that water's edge. Not a bump nor an eye could be seen. So he decided he was just going to stay the night and wait until early in the morning, see if he could try his luck then. Plus, his wife told him not to come back unless he brought some food with him. But all through the night, and early into the morning, that pond water stayed still. Well, by this time, that raccoon was so hungry and so frustrated that he just bust out crying. And off he went into the woods, filling it with his wails and his moans. Well, at about the same time, Fox had just stepped out of his den to take his early morning stroll. Now, Fox was an easygoing fella, liked to take his time and reflect on things. He never bothered anybody. He was always in control. And as usual, he was impeccably dressed, even had his dark glasses on. Well, he had not gone very far before he heard coming from the opposite direction a loud wailing and a moaning. Fox slid down his shades and caught sight of a pitiful but familiar form. Fox said, hey, my brother, you are distorting my solitude with all that noise. Now get yourself under control and tell me what is going on. Well, the raccoon tried to get himself under control and said, well, I'm a fisherman, kind of like a fisherman. I guess it's like a frogman, I guess. I go down the pond, I sit there and wait, they come up, I snatch them up, but lately, I've been going down to the pond and I ain't caught nothing, man. My wife is on my case and I just don't know what to do. I just don't know what to do. The fox said, hey, here we go again with this food control thing. I've been trying to help you out, brother. I keep laying this stuff down. You just ain't picking it up. And this is the same thing. You are thinking with your stomach instead of with your mind. Now, I'm going to walk back with you to this pond. We're going to take care of this thing once and for all. Now, when we get there, when you get to the water's edge, I want you to just play possum, okay? Just stretch out on your back like you was dead, okay? And let me take care of the rest. Well, that fox went back with that raccoon to the water's edge. Gave the raccoon a little wink, and the raccoon started to sputter, to make it sound good. And then, boom, stretched out flat on his back like a board. Fox looked out over that water and said, hey, frogs, this is Fox. Y'all been trying to starve this brother to death. I think, by gosh, you did it. Now, the least you can do is come on over here on this land and bury this brother, because after all, this is my walking path, and stepping over dead bodies just ain't my thing. Well, sure enough, after about a moment or so, up popped one little bitty eye, up popped another little bitty eye, some lumpy heads and some bumpy backs. One of those frogs looked over on that bank and said, is he really dead? All the little frogs said that too. Is he really dead? The fox said, hey, come on over here and see for yourself. And right at that moment, those frogs heard one of those old frogs. Now, when I was little, when I was a teenager, we called them old heads. And they would watch the stuff that we would do, and they'd try to give us a little bit of advice. We would listen to them respectfully and just do what we was going to do anyway. But he said, seen that? Didn't do that. That's how I got to be old. Just because you see it, ain't got to do it. Don't say you never been told. Yeah, some little frogs had the sap rising up and they said, man, this ain't nothing. They said that he's dead over there. We're just going to jump over there and check it out. And sure enough, frogs started jumping out the pond, and one of them took a long stick, poked at that raccoon. Raccoon didn't move. Poked at him again. Didn't move. He said, yup, he's dead. All the little ones around said, yup, he's dead. And man, they started bullfrogging right there on that bank. They was partying and jumping and hopping and carrying on. And Fox said, hey. Let's cut out the partying and the bullfrogging here. Let's get the shovels out and let's get this on. Well, those frogs took out their little claws. They started to dig out the sand, dig out the mud, dig out the sand, dig out the mud from under that raccoon. And the raccoon started to sink down just a little bit in that hole. And one of the frogs said, is it deep enough? Fox said, well, can you jump out? Frog jumped out, landed all the way back in the pond. He said, nope, not yet. They got their little front paws. They started to dig out the sand, dig out the sand, dig out the sand, deeper and deeper and deeper, digging out the mud, digging out the sand. As that raccoon started to sink deeper and deeper down in that hole, and the bullfrog said, is it deep enough? Fox said, can you jump out? Bullfrog took a leap, landed outside the hole, not quite as far this time. Then he heard that voice once again. See that? Didn't do that. That's how I got to be old. Just because you see it, ain't got to do it. Don't say you never been told.
But they just kept on digging out the sand, digging out the mud, digging out the sand, digging out the mud. And that raccoon sank deeper and deeper, and so did those frogs, and looked up at that fox and said, "Is it deep enough?" Fox said, "Well, can you jump out?" Bullfrog took a leap, didn't come nowhere near the top. All those little frogs started leaping, hopping, jumping, didn't come anywhere near the top. That fox leaned over in that hole, looked at that raccoon and said, "It's all yours, my brother." That raccoon opened up his eyes, and all around him was nothing but fat, juicy frogs. Green, bumpy, bug-eyed, fat, crooked, and juicy frogs. And he had all he wanted that day and for a long time. Now, that's usually the way that story ends. I've given it a little addendum. I like to think what happened to those frogs is what often happened to us when the sap was rising in us. Those old head frogs got together, jumped down, swam down to the bottom of that pond and began to swim over perpendicular to where that hole had been dug. And they began to dig out the mud, dig out the mud, dig out the mud until they dug a hole, and it let the water in, and it gave them an escape route. And the rest of those little frogs swam out. So Raccoon got some of them, but he didn't get all of them. And years later, some of those frogs that escaped because of those old heads who was watching out for them would sit on their little lily pads, looking at those younger frogs with the sap rising up in them, saying, "See that, did that, almost didn't get to be old. Just because you see it, ain't got to do it. Don't say you've never been told."
Charlotte Blake Austin. Wow, the way you say those frogs, it almost want me to eat some frogs. I swear, anybody, I Swanee John, anybody see Miles Davis just now? You know, oh my gosh, Charlotte, that was off the chain. And we had some people saying they love they've never heard that version, love the way you threw it down. So phenomenal. Got some lessons there. And I love that twist that to incest. Talking real life right there. We better listen to our elders. Listen to the wise ones. Yep.
They've been there.
Doing it. Come on, everybody. Come on. Been there. Doing it. One more time. Come on. Been there. Doing it. Yeah. Wow. We have one more teller for this evening. And I know the frogs had a party. I just want to let everybody know we're going to have an after party. Because we had a Reeds on the end, and DJ Rock, he gonna put in a little while at the end of this, he gonna put a link where you can come to the after party, and we won't be able to jump out though. Right? But y'all come on to the after party. It's gonna be limited, so you better come quick. It'll be at 6:30. But before we get to the party, we got to get to our last teller. Now, our last teller, let me tell you about John Henry. See, Mama Linda named him John Henry because of the monumental work that he has done for the National Association of Black Storytellers. Dylan Pritchett is a past president, but he is also a festival director. He has directed so many of the festivals, and this new virtual festival, which is a historical, I was going to say landmark, an historical Zoom mark, right? And so I first met Dylan at my very first festival in Kansas. And when I heard him tell that story, you know, about the horse riding horse, he brought me in. He brought me in not only to the family of Black storytelling, and it was an introduction beyond what I had been to the retreat, but that whole family of the National Association of Black Storytellers, y'all, and it's a family. Y'all got to come to the festival. so y'all can be part of this family. If you haven't been before, you got to come to the festival. Dylan Pritchett is the festival director. He also was a catalyst for me. Dylan, I don't know if you know this, but you're a catalyst for me in terms of understanding and loving the discipline of Black storytelling. Cause you Black storyteller. Right here, everybody, we got Dylan Pritchett, John Henry. Come on, here we go. John Henry, John Henry, John Henry, coming to the spotlight. John Henry, John Henry, John Henry, grabbing that spotlight. Oh, oh, John Henry, John Henry, John Henry.
Good afternoon, everybody. Honored to be here. Honored to be here with so many great storytellers, but more importantly, glad that you're here. And just got a story. It was the one story that came to mind that fits with the theme in the footsteps of our ancestors. And this is my story. I know why the birds always singing. I know why the moon shines at night. Yesterday's gone, today moves on. Tomorrow will be all right. Big Mama used to sing that song all the time. Well, not all the time. Big Mama only sung that song one time a year. It was Reckoning Day. Every Reckoning Day, Robin and Doug would hear Big Mama sing that song coming down the path. Now, y'all might not know what Reckoning Day means. See, right after the war, we had a lot of sharecroppers. And with the sharecroppers, you work the land and you till the land, you spend some money. And at the end of the year, you go up there and the man would own the land, tell you how much money you made, how much money you spent, and whether you get some money or you owe some money. And Big Mama, and Robin and Doug worked this land because of Papa. Now before the war, you see, Robin and Doug's mama got sold off. And Big Mama and Papa took Robin and Doug on, raised them as little girls. And so after they got freedom, Papa died. But Papa had a dream. Papa wanted to own the same land that he had slaved on. He wanted to go out, make enough money and buy that land. So the money that he slaved on, he would own. But he got canked up and he passed away. But Big Mama, she wanted to do it in honor of Papa. So she stayed there and Robin and Doug and the girls. So one day they heard Big Mama sing that song. I know why the birds always singing. I know why the moon shines at night. Yesterday's gone, today moves on. Tomorrow will be all right. Robin and Doug watched Big Mama come down. They say, hey, Big Mama. Big Mama said, hey, girls, y'all go ahead and wash up. I had dinner ready. Well, when Robin and Doug got to the dinner table, they sat there at the table and Big Mama, she put the greens down and she put some cornbread down and that was it. And Robin and Doug started looking around thinking, is this all Big Mama? There ain't no meat. They said, let's bow your head, girls, and pray. Lord, we thank you for what you've given us, praying for more, but thankful for what we have. Amen. And Robin got a little bit of the greens and got some cornbread, and you know what she had to do? Got some of that hot liquor poured on top of that cornbread. And they sat down, they was eating, and then Robin kind of edged Doug. She said, ask her. Robin said, Big Mama, how Mr. Billups doing? Because she knew she was up there, because whenever Big Mama sang the song, she'd met with Mr. Billups. Big Mama said, well, he's doing fine, girls, he's doing fine. Then Doug said, well, how Miss Billups doing? She said, she's doing fine, girls, they both fine. Now y'all eat. Big Mama knew what they was asking. So Big Mama finally said, girls, yeah, we had Reckoning Day, and we didn't do too good this year. Robin looked at Doug, and Doug looked at Robin. They said, we didn't do good, Big Mama? Mama said, no, not this year. We owe about $80. Robin said, $80, Big Mama, we've been working hard this year. We've been working extra hard this year. How we owe? And they'll say, yeah, Big Mama, because we've been doing more and more. Big Mama said, now, girls, I know that it's disappointing, but we gonna figure things out. They said, well, how we gonna figure things out, Big Mama? You said that last year. And then the girls got up and tears started coming in their eye and they went and sat outside. Well, Big Mama, she cleaned up after dinner, and as soon as she had opened the door to go to the porch, she stepped on a board that creaked, and the girls turned around, and Big Mama saw these big tears coming down their eyes. Big Mama thought for a second. She turned around and went in the house, and she came back out, and Big Mama had this old box, old tin box. And Big Mama, she said, girls, this box here was given to Papa by his daddy. His daddy was an African. He called him Pomoni. And when Pomoni gave your Papa this box, he said that this is a powerful box. He said, anything that you need is in this box. But you got to be careful, because if you open it before you really need it, there's a powerful conjuring in this box, and you wish you wouldn't open it. But if the time is right, then won't be no conjuring. And you know something, girls? I don't think the time is right. Robin said, Big Mama, how come the time ain't right? We ain't doing good. You just said we ain't doing good. Big Mama said, girls, the time ain't right. You'll understand it by and by. Big Mama turned around and left. Well, a year later, I know why the birds always singing. I know why the moon shines at night. Yesterday's gone, today moves on. Tomorrow will be all right. They heard the song again. So the girls went out and they sat down, and Big Mama, she put down some black-eyed peas this time, and oh, she had some fresh snaps. Big Mama looked like she had a little side of about half a chicken there. Well, they sat down and divvied it up, and they said their prayers again. And then Robert said, Big Mama, we must be doing pretty good. This right that day, Big Mama said, no, not really, girls. They said, well, how we do then, Big Mama? Mama said, girls, this year we owe $110. They said, $110, Big Mama, it can't be. It can't be nothing like that. Surely we making more money. We've been working harder. We've been working harder. Matter of fact, we got a half an acre more field we've been working. It can't be so. So the girls got up and left. They went out on the porch. Well, Big Mama, she went out there. She went out with that box again, and she said, girls, now I can open this box if you want me to open this box, but I don't think the time is right. No, I don't think the time is right. And then Big Mama, she stopped and looked, and she said, girls, I want you to see something. And she reached up right by the door and took down Papa's hat. She said, this is Papa's hat. Old dusty thing. Matter of fact, I don't think it's been off the nail since he's been gone. But every time Papa would come into the house, he'd always say, the sun didn't beat me down today. Never let the sun beat you down. You get in before it go down. That was his way of saying you never give up. You just keep going. And he'd always put his hat on that nail. So I'm gonna put it right back up there. Whenever you come in this house, you look at that hat, you think of Papa. But as for this box, girls, the time ain't right. She went back in the house. Well, year went by. Girls was getting kind of old now. The girls started getting bumps where girls get bumps. And Big Mama sang that song again. I know why the birds always sing. And there they was again at the table. And there they was again. Big Mama said that they ain't make no money. But then Big Mama said, girls, I think the time is right. And they turned around and Robin said, Doug, no, Big Mama going to get that box? Well, I know we doing bad, but we always been doing bad. She ain't gonna get that box. And Big Mama, she come out and she had 2 boxes in her hand. She said, girls, reckoning they was just as bad as it always had been. We gonna start doing things different, but y'all deserve to get something every now and then. So wanted to give you all these boxes. And Robin and Dove took the boxes and they said, what is it, Big Mama? She said, open it. The girl started opening the boxes and the paper was flying. And Robin said, oh, look, I got me some nice clothes. And then Dove said, look, I got a nice blue dress. And then they said, Big Mama, what's this? So we can learn our letters. Oh, look, I got a new shirt. Oh, look, I got a coat. She said, no, I got some lilac backwater. Them girls was taking stuff out of that box, started trying stuff on and twirling around. And Big Mama said, now, girls, I want you to know that hard work got those things, not this other thing. We've been doing, them girls ain't paid Big Mama no mind. They went in, they got this, tried some new shoes, and they tried their shoes on, dresses on. They was having a ball. Well, time went on and time went on. And reckoning they ain't get no better, but they did start doing things different. And as time went on, the girls got older, went on to school, got married. The Big Mama, she went on too. Big Mama got canked up and went on up to glory. Mr. Billups contacted and told Robin and Dove they had to come back and clean out the house so that he could have another sharecropper take over. So Robin and Dove came back and got the few belongings that Big Mama had put on the wagon. Robin said, Dove, did you see that box that Big Mama said she got from Papa? She said, no, I ain't see it nowhere. Let's go. And they went inside and looked around, couldn't find it nowhere. So they sat down on the porch trying to figure out where would that box be. Then all of a sudden they heard this horse come from around the corner. This man was on the horse and they said, may we help you? He said, yes, I'm Mr. Halcomb. And they said, Mr. Halcomb, who is you? He said, well, I'm Mr. Halcomb. I own the store up the way. I just saw that somebody was out here at Judith's place and I wanted to come out. Big Mama's, Robin and Dove said, who house? Judith. They had never heard Big Mama's real name before. He said, yeah, Judith. Y'all called her Big Mama, but her name was Judith. He said, I'm sure gonna miss her. He said, how do you know Big Mama? How do you know Big Mama? How do you know her? He said, well, I had the store. And she kind of figured out that Mr. Billups wasn't doing right with the books. And so she started bringing things to me. And I'd sell her things a little cheaper than what she could get it from Mr. Billups' store. I'm sure gonna miss her. And Robin and Dove looked at each other and they said, you said Big Mama did business with you? He said, oh yeah. He said, well, he was cooking the books and he would come to me. Matter of fact, I used to get Big Mama, Judith, Big Mama, used to get her laundry to do. Y'all girls did the laundry, didn't you? They said, yeah, we started doing a lot of laundry. He said, yeah, most all the white folks in town had their laundry done by y'all. They didn't know. I'm gonna miss that song too that she used to sing. I know why the birds always singing. I know why. Robin said, wait a minute, how you know that song? Big Mama used to sing it. He said, yeah, she would sing it. She would sing it to let me know that she coming up the path to pick up the laundry. So when I heard her sing the song, I put the laundry on the corner of the porch and she just pick it up and take it on home. And next morning she'd bring it back. Yeah, that way I ain't have to see her and nobody knew what was going on. And she made a lot of money doing that laundry. I mean, y'all made a lot of money doing laundry. But Robin and Dove looked at each other because they had no idea that Big Mama was dealing with this man. And then Mr. Halcomb said, girls, y'all didn't know what was going on. I mean, y'all got new dresses and all. And look, Robin, you went to college and you too, Dove. How y'all think y'all got schooling? He said, come on. He said, yeah, Big Mama was doing a lot of things different because she loved y'all girls. Oh, and wait. Mr. Halcomb reached into his little bag and he pulled out a box. He said, reason I come back to it, Big Mama said, this is time. This now is by and by. Robin took it from Mr. Halcomb and Mr. Halcomb gave a giddy up and he went on about his business. And he said, Robin, you think we should open it? Because there's a curse if we don't need it. And she said, we sure don't need it now like we used to. Dove said, yeah, Robin, but Big Mama said, the time is right. And if the time is right, then the time is right. Well, here, you help me open it. Robin held it out and Dove took the other end of it. And they lifted it up and looked at each other. And they slowly opened the box and there was nothing in the box. And they sat there and looked in the box thinking to themselves, there's nothing in the box. But the more they looked in it, they realized that Big Mama had put a lot in that box. Big Mama had put some love in that box. Big Mama put some perseverance in that box. Big Mama put don't let the sun beat you down in that box. Big Mama had put a lot in that box. And they closed that box up, put the rest of the things up in the wagon, and started on going back home. But just about time they got to the main road, Robin stopped and said, Dove, what we gonna put in the box for our children? We gonna have to put some love in that box. We gonna have to put some perseverance in that box. We gonna have to teach our children how to protest in that box. We gotta teach them everything Big Mama and Papa taught us in that box. Same thing we got to be thinking about today. What we gonna put in the box for our children and our grandchildren as our ancestors put in the box for us. I know why the birds always singing. I know why the moon shines at night. Yesterday's gone, today moves on. Tomorrow will be all right. The old Mtjendaji box.
Darling Pritchett, y'all. Sharon Holly, I'm with you. Tears. And Tanya says, come on now. You know, they talking with everybody talking with you. We right here with you, darling. Thank you for the lesson. Thank you for the depth. Thank you for dialing Pritchett. Everybody give it up, give it up, give it up, give it up. Woo! Wait! Some black storytelling up here in this house. Now, I hope you understand now why the National Association of Black Storytellers is the authentic voice of black storytelling. You heard it right here, and you're gonna hear it some more. All you gotta do is come to the festival. Darling, come on, tell us a little bit about the festival.
Everybody gotta come on, come on, come on. It begins on Thursday morning. We have everything that we normally have, from the the Jackie Tall Tales contest. We're excited about the workshops. You're gonna have to do some moving. It's about genealogy as well, finding your roots. We got everything. We got the opening gala Thursday night, In the Tradition concert. We got Storytellers, April Armstrong, Cheddar Galloway, Tony Simmons, Lynn Cabral, Diane Follett, Nathando Zulu, and whoever else ain't Mitch, and whoever else ain't Tony, whoever ain't mentioned, they there. Go to nabsinc.org and you can see everything we doing. And you know, we gonna have a ball. We are going to have a ball. So join us. It's Thursday through Saturday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And we're also excited about the youth. We got 12 youth that going to be telling, and that's just going to be outstanding. So please join us. And if not, we'll see you next time. But you're going to miss it.
Yeah, thank you. I hope nobody misses it. So I'm going to bring on here. Y'all see my brother, Bunjo Butler. And Bunjo is the co-director of the Adopt a Teller program. And the Adopt a Teller program, the National Adopt a Teller program, brought this festival to you again through through the funds of the National Endowment for the Arts and the Nora Roberts Foundation, as well as the National Council for Traditional Arts. And together, that's my partner. He was the 7th president, and I'm the 14th president. And we want to see you at the festival. And the Reeds, Offset Reed and DJ Rock, they have been putting over and over again in the chat box to come to www.nabsinc.org. That's where you can register. And y'all, I know y'all been hearing these drums in the background, right? Well, that's Dwight James. Yes, international jazz drummer, and I am so graced and blessed to have him with me. So we're going to let Mr. James, give us a little something, something. Come on, Mr. James, come on. Yeah. Thank everybody, right? So Bunjo, who you want to thank? You got to unmute yourself, Bunjo.
I thought I did.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Who we got to thank, Bunjo?
I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the storytellers. My heart is so full of joy. I want to thank everybody that joined us and everybody that we could share what's going to be magnificent coming up next week. Yes, sir.
So we want to again thank our storytellers today: Elisha Menta, Charlotte Blake Alston, Dolly Pritchett, Arthuretta Martin, Kunama in the house, Janice Curtis Greene, our president. President, you have anything you want to share and say?
My heart is just so full. I mean, I laughed, I cried. Darling, not since the story of your grandmother with the sewing machine, wishy, 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 making the coat, have I been so moved. That was so beautiful. Everybody. Charlotte, you look, yeah, I could see it. I could see the jazz man, the last poet, all of you. Arthuretta from heaven, the Bantam rooster running around chasing you. I wish I could have seen it. And that history lesson, everybody, please register. Dial and Pritchett and our executive director, Benora Lego, and so many others have worked so hard to make this premier festival, virtual festival, quite an event. And so I want to thank everybody for coming and supporting the National Association of Black Storytellers. But big shouts out to Queen Nur, her emceeing skills and keeping the excitement going off and her emotion, her raw emotion. And like Mother Mary Carter Smith used to say all the time, her lips that are shaped like a heart, like a little heart. And so just keep it all up. I want to thank the Nora Roberts Foundation. I want to thank the National Endowment for the Arts, the Adopt a Teller program, and everybody for all that they put into this and what you're going to see coming up next week. Yeah, Benora, let Benora show her face.
Can you spotlight her for us? That's our executive director she don't sleep. She might get a cup of tea here and there, but she don't sleep. And listen, everybody, I got to tell the tellers. Folks been asking how they get in touch with you. I told them they can write AATP@nabsinc.org in case they can't remember, AATP@nabsinc.org. However, can everybody let us know how people can reach you? We'll start with Janice. Janice, how can people reach you?
www.janicethegriot.com. That's my website. And you can reach me there.
Charlotte Blake Alston, how can everybody reach you? Unmute yourself, my sis.
Charlotte Blake Alston, that's ALSTON, not like Texas. CharlotteBlakeAlston.com. My email is griowoman, GRIOT, woman at AOL.com.
And Arthuretta Martin.
Yes, you can reach me.
Here I am.
MamaRettaSpeaks.com, or you can email me at amartinburke@gmail.com.
And Elisha? Unmute yourself, Elisha. Unmute yourself.
Okay, you can reach me at mothermentor52@yahoo.com or Google Mother Mentors Magical Moments with Children, and I'll pop up.
Thank you. Kunama, what you say? What you say? How can everybody reach you? You kind of in the shade. Unmute yourself, my brother.
Yeah, Kunama, Kunama, Mtjendaji, Mtjendaji. Just put Kunama Mtjendaji on the web. Stuff ought to lead you to where you need to go. 314-443-5153.
All right, and we have in our gallery now our ED. Venor Lego. Y'all just don't know. Y'all got to do like this. Y'all got to do like that. Yep. We thank you so much, Venor. You got a couple of words for our audience?
I just want to thank everyone who came out, tuned in. We thank all of you. We thank the tellers, festival director, the adopted tellers, the adopted teller directors, the sponsors, and everybody who worked so hard to bring this to where we are now. I do know that there were households in Louisiana watching this. Some of my Zeta sorors had their grandchildren watching from the beginning to the end. And so I thank them also. And we look forward to what's going to happen next week. And this is just the beginning. We've all laughed. We've shed tears. Mother Mentor, I want you to know I saw that rooster. Matter of fact, I know that rooster's cousin. You took me there. I remember that. And the frogs, I know them too. Those frogs, yeah, they're relatives. I know all of them. I tell you, this was something to behold today.
Yes, ma'am.
And we are so grateful to all of you who've shared in this experience.
Thank you.
It's like none other.
None other.
We continue to say, you go to festivals, but until you've been to NABS, this is one of a kind. There's not another one like it.